understand love and relationships on college campuses, we decided to start with Dr. Leo Mundy's article, The Question of Men in Love. In his article, he describes the difference between a serious man and a passionate man. He quotes that although men might be passionate lovers at certain times of their lives, no man can be defined as a man in love. The woman that they love is merely only one aspect of their lives and not their whole existence. Mundy characterizes the serious man as one who works hard to embody masculinity and power. The serious man wants to be in control. He will not submit himself to a woman in fear of losing his control and power. They will offer themselves as the whole world to their partner, and in return, the men will value their partner as merely only one thing in their social world. The serious man demands love but fails to offer love for her. He looks at love only as a way to improve his power and image in society.
I will be going over the passionate man in Dr. Mundy's article. The article states that the passionate man represents the pinnacle of personal freedom. Despite being the pinnacle of personal freedom, that becoming a passionate man is difficult in a society that encourages the spirit of seriousness rather than the spirit of passion. The article also goes over the perspective of a passionate man, meaning that they might read a love story and see it as a roadmap or a guide rather than seeing it as a tale of caution. And a good example of that is when the article goes in depth about the character Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind and how he's depicted differently from the book, which was written by a female, from whenever he was depicted in the movie directed by a male.
In the article, Hooking Up and Forming Romantic Relationships on Today's College Campuses, the authors explain how hookups are more common on college campuses than actual relationships. These hookups are just a one-time thing, and in most cases, they never lead to anything more than that. The authors then begin to explain how the hookups are gendered in 3 different categories: initiation, orgasms, and double standards. Their studies show that mostly guys initiate these hookups. This is a pretty common thing. When they studied the rate of orgasms, they also found that mainly guys get orgasms, but this does not mean that the girls did not enjoy the experience. The article continues to say that if those that did these hookups, if their relationship lasted, if they continued to talk to each other, they decided to date, it was nothing too serious or it was nothing that was long lasting.
Do you believe college students focus more on finding relationships or focus on hooking up?
It depends on the age. Freshmen and sophomores depend more on hooking up because they're not trying to look for a long-lasting relationship. Then they're away from the parents, so it's more freedom. But when you get like 21, 22, you start thinking about your life and you want a career, you want that family, you want like something that'll last longer.
Experience a hookup during your college experience?
Yes. I met him on a social media app and came over. He stayed the night and that was that. It goes to show that hookups don't really last any longer than just that one night. He tried to talk to me afterwards, but I just wasn't feeling it. So it has to be like a mutual thing. And so hookups aren't all that people say they are. They don't go any further into a relationship.
My name is Jacob Davison, and I'm doing the second half of the article titled Hooking Up and Forming Romantic Relationships on Today's College Campuses, written by Paula England, Emily Schaefer, and Allison C.K. Ficardi. The second half states that by their senior year in college, 71% of students report that they have been in a relationship that lasted at least 6 months while in college. Hookups have not replaced relationships, but they have altered the pathway into relationships and may have largely replaced casual dating. There was an online survey that the authors conducted that said the students by their senior year had an average of 4.4 dates. This number is relatively less than the number of times that they have hooked up, which is an average of 6.9. This also concludes that dating is not entirely dead, but what has changed here is a typical sequence. Dates often come after a hookup and thus after engaging in some sort of sexual activity. When reporting on those with just the person with whom they had their most recent relationship of at least 6 months, 4% of students had at least one hookup but no dates, 26% had at least one date but no hookups, while the majority at 67% had at least one of each before it became a relationship. In cases where there were both dates and hookups, the gathered data suggests that the hookups usually came first.
Article, The Social Psychology of Love and Attraction, the authors Princess Braxton Davis and Cheryl Boudreau begin by telling us that attraction is the foundation of a relationship. They go on to tell us that the main type of attraction is physical. They tell us about how aging is negatively associated with the physical attraction between two people. There's also stated that there are many different types of attraction, such as similarity, ethnicity, and age difference. They predicted that the two most common attractions would be the physical attraction and the similarity. They would be the strongest types. It always seems that people want to be with someone who is just like them.
The second half of the Braxton Davis and Boudreau article, they actually conducted a study of 206 university students at Midwestern University. Now, one of the surveys had to be discarded because the person claimed to have been in love over 1,300 times and they were only 19 years old. It was given to students at the library, student center, and around campus so that they could diversify the range of the students. And one thing that they used was the love at first sight attraction, which was measured by physical and personality traits in this study. 79% of the students actually chose personality over physical attraction or career and achievement traits. The majority, 81%, claimed to have been in love, and 93% said that the most attractive physical feature was the smile, while the humor was the most desirable personality trait at 98%. Now, at the beginning of this study, Braxton Davis and Boudreau originally thought that physical attraction was going to trump over personality, but in the end, personality actually trumped physical traits. And one idea that they had was that people might have put down personality because they did not want to look shallow in the researchers' eyes, which is actually called social desirability. But in the end, they truly believed that the study came out correct, because everyone does notice when there is an attractive person in his or her midst, but they believed that the personality is what ultimately attracts you to that person. And the way they ended the article is they said, how the person makes you feel outweighs the single factor of physical attractiveness.
In the article, predictors of breakup distress among residential college students. College students these days are showing signs of distress after 2 weeks of breaking up with their significant other. This article goes into depth about the distress caused from a breakup in an experiment performed to see how much distress occurred among college students after 2 weeks of breaking up with their significant other. The results were that females were prone to be distressed more than males. The ones that initiate the breakup tend to have less distress than the ones that are not doing the breakup. And those that broke up after a long relationship tends to be in more distress. The types of distress that was listed in this article were depression, anxiety, avoidance behavior, sleep disturbance such as irregular sleep-wake rhythm and delayed sleep-wake phase disorder, and academic difficulties such as failing to concentrate on schoolwork and grades going down, and other psychiatric disorder. I interviewed a male and his ex-girlfriend regarding their past relationship. I asked the following questions. How long was the relationship? Who initiated the termination of the relationship? And after 2 weeks of the breakup, who was more distressed? To which they replied that they had been together for 1 year before breaking up. The male initiated the breakup, and after 2 weeks, the female showed more distress. The female stated that she could not do her schoolwork that well. She did not sleep as much on some days and slept too much on other days. She had trouble with work and stopped going out with her friends. On the other hand, the male was slightly less distressed but slept a bit more than usual, and he went out like he usually did as well. The results indicated that the female had a hard time dealing with the breakup, and she had more distress than the male. The male that initiated the breakup was not as distressed as the female and recovered easily.
I had the method section, and in this section, students from a liberal arts college in New England were recruited to be a part of this study by social media such as email, Facebook, and a college-specific social networking site. They were given a link to an online survey where they were asked a bunch of different questions regarding their last relationship, such as the duration and how long it's been since the breakup, whether it was with a fellow student, and who was the initiator of the breakup. They also provided their age, gender, and class year. And after this, they completed the breakup distress scale, which is basically asking them how upset they've been the past 2 weeks since the breakup. The scores in this scale range from 16 to 64, with the greater scores indicating a higher level of distress. And after the class year was taken out of the equation, the students were then assessed to see whether the gender differences played a part in the results. And this was assessed using between sample t-test and chi-square test.